All the Englishmen, they have St. George's Street. All the Welsh, they have St. David's Lane. All the Jews are all fond of Coleraine Street. The Spanish and the Greeks have the Mean. All the Scots, they have Argyle and Biddew. The French, they have good old Côte St. Paul. But the Irish you can beat, for they have St. Patrick's Street. Every nation has a street in Montreal. Ta-da-da-da. Here's the show.
They march on a Sunday afternoon, early in the summer, coming from all over the city to Point St. Charles, traditional home of the Montreal Irish. Every year they come, the United Irish Societies, the St. Patrick's Society, the Ancient Order of Hibernians. They march to commemorate not the lives, but the deaths of their ancestors. The ancestors who fled from Ireland in the potato famine of the 1840s. 1.5 million people had died of starvation and had been buried by the roadside. For many who survived, emigration was the only hope. They left by the thousands, the Maguires, the Kellys, the Shaughnesseys, the Hogans. Some of them came here, to Point St. Charles. Immigrant ships arrived by the score, carrying not only Irish dreams, but also the dreaded ship fever, typhus. In Montreal, the Irish were herded off the ships and put in quarantine. Sheds were built to house the sick and the walking dead. As more ships arrived, more sheds were built, and more graves were dug. For those who survived the typhus, Montreal was a good place to be. The city was predominantly English-speaking. The mayor's name was Jimmy McShane. The Irish became a force to be reckoned with in Quebec.
Christ have mercy.
The Irish of Point St. Charles had not traveled on soft sheets. They came to Canada looking for work, and they found it. They found it building the Grand Trunk Railway, or sweating in boiler shops and in foundries, or laboring in factories and along the roadside, or raising and riveting the wondrous Victoria Bridge. They built their houses here, on Congregation Street and Hibernia Street, Sebastopol Street and Dublin Street. It's changed over the years, but these threadbare streets in the belly of Montreal still make up one of the toughest neighborhoods anywhere in Canada. At the Canadian Legion, every Wednesday night, they meet to drink and talk about the war that ended when they were all 30 years younger.
Harry, one of the main items why I joined the Navy was to get out of the boiler shop in the Point St. Charles at 120 degrees. And when I said, well, what am I doing down here? I may as well go with my friends. So we all joined up together, and we went up to the Air Force. They said, oh, you can't join here. You must be from the better families.
You were undereducated.
Yeah. So you were from the Point. So we went to the Army. So the Army says, we can't take you. You're underage.
No, you were flat-footed.
Well, that was it, eh?
Flat-headed.
So I went to the Navy, and he grabbed us in right away.
Right away.
The Navy will take anything.
The Navy was like Roger.
The Navy will take anything.
We had 10% casualties in the Navy from the boys from that point.
That was just from drinking rum.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, you know, if you came down here to play a baseball game against a point, if you won the game, you're sure to lose the fight. That's all I can tell you about that. But I guess that's all changed now.
What if you lost the game?
If you lost the game, they let you go home in a hurry.
Always fights.
Always fights, yeah. A baseball game always ended up in a fight.
Some of the best fighters in the country have come out of the Shamrock Boxing Club. For some, it's still a passport out of the point.
I was there for 4 days in Ireland, and we were sleeping in our sweatsuit, me and Clyde, in the bed. You went like this. It was in November. You went like this, and you seen your breath. I met a guy who was supposed to fight in Dublin, the champion of the county of Kildare. Me, I was the champion of the province of Quebec. I should put this guy to sleep. So I go in the first round. I don't know what the guy hit me with. Right on the chin. Boom. I was on my ass. I didn't believe it. I get back up. I wasn't only fighting for me. I was fighting for my country and everybody in Montreal. I got back up and I started moving around, keeping away from him. But I couldn't keep away from him all the time because he would knock me out. I was beat and I was light. So then in the second and third round, I just stayed against the ropes and blocked all his punches. And then once in a while, I tried to, tag him. And then, anyways, he beat me by decision. He was the best hopeful for Ireland in the Olympics. He went for the Olympics.
It may not be as big as the Olympics, but the social event of the year for the children of the point is the Leo's Boys Banquet. It's a night filled with sports heroes and potato salad, plastic forks, cold meat and cola, and better luck next year. The only French-Canadian at the head table is Roger Doucette, who sings the national anthem at professional hockey games.
I know you want to hear him. Mr. Stanley Cup himself, Bob Gainey.
Bob Gainey, a hockey player with the Montreal Canadiens, is a hero of gigantic proportions to the children of Point St. Charles. Ron Toohey, who owns a plumbing company, is chairman of the board of Leo's Boys.
Boys, girls, let's take it easy now. I'm originally from the Point myself, and I think it's the most beautiful place in the world. So make sure you stand proud when you say you're from Point St. Charles, because you're all good people. And I hope you're enjoying yourself tonight. And let's hear it for this group of wonderful guys up here that do so much for you. Let's hear it. Come on now.
These men are the directors of Leo's Boys Association, which organizes most of the sports in the neighborhood. Some of them still live in the Point. Some have moved away. They come back every year to present a trophy and perhaps to remind themselves of their roots. Or perhaps they come just to get together with some old street friends who've made good. Or perhaps they come to talk about the night of the broken windows. That night in 1963 when the FLQ, a Quebec terrorist organization, planted a bomb that killed a watchman called O'Neill. That night, 40 men from Point St. Charles got into their cars and drove uptown. Once there, they took down and destroyed 32 Quebec flags. Then they went to the Université de Montréal and smashed 100 windows. The Leo's Boys Sports Association, sometimes facetiously known as the Irish Mafia, was named after Leo Mell, one of the sons of the prominent Mell family of Ash Avenue. He died at 20 of leukemia in 1951.
You'd have to be absolutely quiet before I'm going to say another word. Please. Very quiet. Thank you. His eyes were two smiles. His mouth was a grin. There was humor in his crew cut and a chuckle in his chin. He joked about death in a hospital bed. Everyone loved him, and now he's dead. His life was a lark. His death was a prayer. There's more fun in heaven now that Leo is there. God bless you.
After the prayer and the speeches, cold meat and the cola, it's time for the trophies. 110 of them. The presentation takes 3 hours.
The leading scorer in the boys' ball hockey. Once again,
Let's do another one. Okay, everybody smiling now? Okay.
The traditional Irish sport of hurling used to attract large crowds. Now only a handful come to watch the annual game between Montreal and Toronto.
Who do you think's going to win this game?
Montreal.
You're the referee though, aren't you?
Well, I'm the referee because I couldn't play. I hurt my knee skiing earlier in the year, so I couldn't play today, so I'm the referee for that reason.
Toronto doesn't mind you being a member of the Montreal team being the
Well, no, because actually I'm a very fair referee, because to me, if you can't win it on the field, you don't deserve to win it.
What would the Montreal boys say about
Well,
that?
like, I mean, I don't stick up for the Montreal guys. They have their chance just as good as we have.
Once, the busy factories and warehouses of Montreal backed onto the Lachine Canal. It was one of the major transportation routes in the country. Now it's just a treacherous playground for the children of Point St. Charles. They call it the Riviera. They play in it, and some of them die in it. It's become one of the daily checkpoints of the police department's youth squad. The canal forms the northern boundary of the point, separating it like some ancient industrial moat from the rest of Montreal. But the police have more to do than check the borders of the point. 80% of the crime here is committed by juveniles. Pierre Lambert has been in the district for 10 years.
We had a big problem with alcohol in these kinds of family. We had many cases, like the mother or the father, they're keeping drinking. And the kids, they have to live by their own. So they're doing some theft, and they ran away from the home. And sometimes, well, the father or the mother, when they get too much alcohol, well, they do some brutalities on their children. So sometimes they research for affection on other places. What's your date of birth?
March 31st, 1957.
How long do you stay in Point?
I've been in the Point since I was 7 years old. I've been here a long time.
So, it's the first time I've seen you here.
Oh, yeah, first time I've been here.
Yeah.
It's an old-fashioned type of police work, but it's been successful in breaking up the street gangs that used to inhabit the alleys and the parks.
Catch that ball!
Thank you, friend.
But there is still the instinctive distrust of authority. And to most people here, Pierre Lambert and his partner are just a couple of French cops in an Irish playground.
Our English not too good, but I mean, we speak to them, and we speak to them on the same thing that we speak to a French guy. So, I mean, we're here since 1968, so, I mean, you know us, we've seen them growing up, so...
Every year, on the 24th of May, the children of the Point celebrate an ancient event, the birthday of Queen Victoria. But it's unlikely that the old Queen would be amused by the shenanigans that go on here. They receive almost 2,000 fire calls a year, and although 1,500 of them are false alarms, there are still almost 2 fires every day in Point St. Charles. On the Queen's birthday, the station receives up to 70 calls in one night. The firemen look forward to it all year.
It's a different day. It's a good day, and I like. We like it as long as nobody gets hurt and nobody gets involved. As long as it's bonfires, we're okay. When the people get involved, then we're in trouble.
You like fires?
I don't mind.
We want fire! We want fire! We want fire!
The buildings are old and they burn easily. Most of them are derelict, owned by people who live outside the district.
It's the custom. It's just like, I don't know, like killing a lamb.
When do you know when it starts getting ugly, when it starts getting trouble?
Fires, and when you approach, you know, they start to throw cocktails out and everything. That's just started to get ugly.
Do you get any help from any of the bystanders, the crowds or stuff?
Never. In 18 years, I never saw that. I hope maybe one day it starts. Maybe because if it starts one day, that means that people really care. But now, look at the people. They don't care, you know. They're watching. They're here for something. Don't ask them what, they don't know.
What starts off as a royal celebration for an old English queen ends as the riot squad moves in to clear the streets of Point St. Charles. The next day, the firemen look out over charred streets. The boarded houses that escaped last night await their turn for the flames. Homes that used to shelter the children of the Irish now house only an invitation to arson. The week of the Victoria Day celebrations, St. Matthew's Presbyterian Church was gutted by fire. No one knows who started it. All that is known is that it was deliberately set.
This is the first house we ever lived in where we had a bathtub. And the rats used to come up through the holes in the floor, and if they got themselves stuck in the tub, they couldn't get out because it was,
Frank Mill
too slippery.
and his brother
I
Joe.
was in there one morning, and I was about to go to the bathroom. I looked down, and there was a rat staring me in the eye, and I picked up a bar of soap, and something I've never been able to do since and could never have done before. With one shot, I got it, and I killed it.
And there's no high school here in the Point. None, never has been. And this is a sad thing, because they had no school that they could go to that was their own school, that they were really a part of it, and the main part of it. They've had to go up to Montreal High or...
The Reverend Bill White has worked in the Point for 7 years.
There they're considered as second-rate citizens. Any trouble? the kids from the Point did it. And they're discouraged right from the very beginning. They say, well, there's no use. We can't fight this thing. We might just as well say, all right, we're from the Point and we're all wrong. And this isn't good for a kid. A kid needs really something that he can call his own. My high school.
James Ling Catholic High School is a 2-mile bus trip for the kids from Point St. Charles. It sits in the shadow of an expressway on one of the busiest industrial streets of the city.
A revolving charge account. How does it work? Anna, your mother have a revolving charge? Simpsons, Eatons? No? Pat?
Most of the young people in this class will be leaving school this year to look for work in the factories and office buildings of Montreal. Their chances of finding a job are not good.
Yeah. What's your interest?
1.5% on unpaid balance.
In my confirmation classes, I'd ask the kids every year, what do you dream? What are your dreams? What are your ambitions? And they just don't have any, you know. They don't know. They don't know. They're lost.
I've gotten into taxis and said, Point St. Charles, and the taxi driver says, oh, I gotta go home now.
As soon as they hear you're from the Point, they don't want you anymore. They just turn you right off, you know? Even no matter what your qualifications are. Right away, they turn you off.
Why do you think we do that?
I don't know. I mean, we're no worse than anywhere else.
Yeah. And I think they underestimate the people from the Point, you know? They think they can't work in big offices, you know? But we got more brains than them, you know? They just haven't spotted it yet, you know?
Yeah.
They figure, you know? You come from the Point, that's it. You get a low job, and you know? A low-rate job, and you got to work hard for your money, you know? But we don't mind, you know? Like, we could work hard, too. Maybe that's why they're all jealous, you know? We're all strong workers, you know?
The strong workers have traditionally found jobs in the CN shops, built in 1857. It's here the rolling stock is repaired and repainted, wheels rebuilt, axles lathed, and coaches spruced up and polished. At one time, half the men here lived in the Point. Now, only a handful come from the neighborhood. Maybe it's because the pay's better now and people can afford to move out. Also, a lot of the young people want something more than the shops can offer. They're better educated now. The railway plays a major part in the life of Point St. Charles. The tracks split it in two and surround it like some protective barrier not to be crossed unless on official business. The shops spread out over 30 acres, separating the Point from the St. Lawrence River. Years ago, the president of Northern Electric could look out of his window onto the bustle of the CN. But along the hall, executives were planning to move the Northern's operation away from the Point. The building was old, it was uneconomical, it was time to decentralize. Below the executive suites, the floors that housed the machinists and electricians, the secretaries and the pay clerks, and the assistant managers hungry for promotion, now stand empty. Visited only by the occasional watchman on the lookout for vandals. The Northern building dominated Point St. Charles. It employed 4,000 people. Generations of families worked here. For them, it meant security and stability, a paycheck and a pension plan.
Do you enjoy working for the Northern one?
Oh, it's a pleasure to work for them. I'm not kidding. They get a lot of breaks here.
What did you do there?
I was a porter, delivering from stuff from 7th floor, from 1st floor to 7th floor, bringing stuff down, bringing it up, shipping stuff, you know, you bring it in ship and they ship it out. That was my job. Knew all the floors inside out.
Miss it?
You do miss it, you know.
What do you think is going to happen to the Point then?
the whole point, I think it's finished. Because people is, you know, they can't live around here waiting things there.
On Monday mornings at 6 o'clock, the doors of the Fair Share Agency open for the beginning of another precarious week for the local unemployed. The search for work is one of the major occupations here. Fair Share, run by the Leo's Boys Association, specializes in providing temporary laborers to various factories and warehouses in the city.
O'Donnell, Parker, Doyle, Eason.
A warehouse company needs some men. It's only paying the minimum wage, but it's a full day's work.
Pearson, Burnett, Pym, McKinnon.
The jobs are handed out on a first-come, first-served basis. It's not much, but that's all there is today.
Where we had 8, 10, 15, 20, 30 men working, we got one working. A lot of places, nobody worked.
So what do these guys do for a living then?
Well, some of them went on unemployment insurance, the ones that had time coming. They struggled. Let's face it, there's nothing. A guy comes around here at 5 in the morning, you usually stick around till 8 or 9, and then you go around looking for jobs. Anything, you know, delivering circulars, any bloody thing to make a buck. And these are the guys that hits the most, you know, the unskilled labor. You just can't get anything.
Since I've left the point, I can show you people in there, fathers and mothers who have been down here, they were kids with me. They just seem they can't get out of the point. Why? Why? They all have, look, I can show you fellas who earn good money. I can show you a man who earns $17,000 living in the point, who is in a hole all the time. I can show you another man who lives in Beaconsfield who earns $17,000. He owns his own home, drives a car. You ask me why. It's because of management, alcohol, drinking, basically that. And it seems down here, the father seems to end up in a bar all the time. The tavern is his roosting place. You know, he gets his paycheck and zap over to the bar. You can go to any tavern in Point St. Charles on a Thursday, Friday night, and you'll see the place, they're cashing their checks. And the guys are all home drunk.
Are you proud because you got out of the point?
No, I'm always proud to come back to the point. I'm not proud of what I see.
What do you see?
I see slums. I see a lot of people who are suffering. I don't mean to say I'm proud about any of that, but I just think the people have a hell of a lot of guts that they got to put up with this.
But Jesus, the people you can't get him out of the bed. You're lying in the bed and get a sore back for living and waiting does the check come.
Too much welfare.
Everyone, so far I consider, including myself.
Yeah, but
she's on the welfare, he's on the welfare, that's on the welfare. Well, here, I mean, the welfare office know who is on the welfare. When the welfare postman coming here, he have to carry two back. When after the welfare checks is finished, he carry only a couple of envelopes.
I better get out of here.
Yeah.
On the first day of the month, these mailmen carry $500,000 in welfare checks. On Congregation Street, the brown envelope is put through almost every door. This year, in tiny Point St. Charles, the mailmen will deliver $6 million worth of welfare. One family in 3 gets a check.
How long have you been delivering mail around the point?
Oh, it's going to be about 30 years.
Has it gone up a lot, the welfare?
Yeah, oh yeah, every month.
When you started, there couldn't be many checks, huh?
Oh, it was very, very few, you know. The people used to work, you know. And now the work seems to go down. The people goes on welfare, eh? Yeah! Tell me if my joints flat out. See? Cigarette? Yeah, about what? Thanks.
Yeah, I know, he's taking the pictures. That's all there is. I should take them upstairs and look at the cockroaches. They're full of cockroaches.
Even during the Depression, I don't think we had the unemployment that there is today in Point St. Charles.
Well, why is it like that?
It's an accepted thing today for people to be on welfare, and there used to be a stigma, like if you went out and you come home and you didn't have a job, you didn't feel like coming home. In fact, the parents just didn't accept it. But now in a lot of families today, people can stay in bed till 10:30 and 11, and as long as they're part of a welfare check, some of the families accept it. I think we've all lost a lot.
The welfare office on Center Street is one of the busiest in the city. There are some families here who have been on the rolls for 4 generations. The children get to know the ropes very early.
What we're going to do is we'll be very simple. We're going to see all the information that we have in your file, of the proper information. And if you have any question during this time, just ask them to me. It will be a pleasure for me to answer to them. Okay. So you're alone now with your 7 children, okay?
Carol Ledoux, born Carol King in Ottawa, has been on and off welfare since her husband died 3 years ago. For Mrs. Ledoux, it's a short walk from the welfare office to her home on Congregation Street on the other side of the tracks. Carol Ledoux has no special skills, no training, no job. The maximum the welfare office can give her is $373 a month, $12 a day for a fatherless family of 9. But it wasn't always like this for Carol Ledoux.
I don't know whether you know Ottawa, but I lived on Island Park Drive. So it's
a ritzy part, is it?
Quite a difference from Point. 462.
This month, the Pepsi-Cola company is running a type of bingo game. With the right number under the cap, the Ledouxs of Congregation Street might win $25. Maybe even $1,000.
Thanks a lot. 8 rooms. 6 bedrooms. I got 5 girls and 3 boys.
Still don't got enough space.
No, how come?
Because it's 4 in the same room.
Because my oldest daughter, she had to have her own room because she's got a boyfriend now, and he bought her a TV, so she doesn't want the little ones playing with the TV, so she needed her own room. So that takes up 1 room right there. And then one of my other daughters has her own stereo that she's worked for and bought herself, and she doesn't want the kids touching it. She needed her own room.
What do you think is going to happen eventually?
I don't know. From, it's hard to say. There's some people that have been on it so long that I guess they just... There's people that need it too. Sort of difficult. But I'd rather go back to work if I could get a job tomorrow. But a steady job.
In Canada, it's widely believed that all the French in Quebec are poor and all the English are rich. They've heard that story in Point St. Charles, but they have trouble believing it.
You know, the working class French guy has many opportunities. He can get into the city of Montreal. He's able to get into Quebec civil service. He's able to get into the federal civil service. The ordinary English guy, he doesn't have a chance to become a policeman. He doesn't have a chance to become a fireman. If he's unilingual, well, he's got a... a lot of people are talking about companies operating in English. Well, I mean, where do you put all these people that are English? I think that the rest of the country is very ignorant as to what happens in Quebec. There's a lot of French-speaking Quebecers that are very ignorant about the English too. Because I'm telling you, coming from Point St. Charles, I know very few millionaires down here.
The railway tracks that run through the middle of Point St. Charles used to separate the poor who spoke French from the poor who spoke English. But all that has changed. The Irish have been moving away. And now you hear French all through the Point. One of the first to move to that other country south of the tracks was Romeo Perron.
1938, we made a move, our family, from the French side of the track to the English side, which was, at the time, Liverpool Street. We happened to be the first French-speaking family on the street. There was sort of a training period or a training camp because you had to fight the English to be able to survive, and they had to fight us the same way. You fought them for playground, you fought them for a place to play, and you fought them going to school, and so it was always a hand-to-hand combat, but not in the sense, it was only hand-to-hand, nothing else. Maybe a stick once in a while, but it trained us to be able to survive in where we were living at the time, and it was needed, because if you didn't know how to fight, you had only one thing left, learn how to run.
I won't give them the satisfaction of making me speak French. If they didn't force me, I would, because I could. My parents are both French. They're English, but they speak French, and I won't speak French.
I mean, but we don't force them to speak English. If they had two languages, the French, they wouldn't get a job, because if the English had one language, they get the job. Now the tables are turning, you know?
What do you
They can't
see in the
force
future,
it.
then?
I have no worries. I'm not worried about anything, because the bill they passed, it's going to create a lot of trouble, you know, next year, the year after. Maybe even a civil war. You never know.
How do you think that? How would you be affected by that?
No, I just say I'm General Wolf.
Well, during the FLQ crisis, in the point, it apparently didn't have a bit of trouble here. Primarily, I guess, because the French and English got on so well together. But I think, too, that if these outsiders had ever come in here, that the taverns would have been cleared for a space of 30 seconds. They would have settled the matter once and for all and gone back and finished their beer with the froth still on top.
This is just something that's come up in the last 10 or 15 years where the people, the Francophones have left the farm to come to Montreal to get work, and in the meantime they can't get it, so they see English there and they say, well, look, they're taking our jobs, but the English have been here for 120 years or 140 years. What the Christ are they supposed to do, quit their jobs? You know?
The French people that used to stay in there, what they used to call their own districts, are now coming into integrating. We don't have that problem here. So much of, what would you say, segregation, French and English? Not here. It doesn't exist that much in the point. There's competition, yes, but no problems.
Although the English-speaking school population has been dropping steadily for the past 15 years, there are still enough children to mount the annual end-of-term concert at Riverside Elementary. For 100 years, generations of school children have performed on this stage, and generations of parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles have come to watch. But this may be the last parade of animals, the last performance with the costumes and the songs and the venerable piano. If the enrollment continues its decline, Riverside School will have to close.
I hate this, huh? Well, and away we go. Bonjour, hello, bonjour, comment ça va?
For 3 decades, the voice of the Irish in Quebec belonged to this man, the legendary Frank Hanley. Hanley was the elected representative for St. Anne's riding in Montreal City Hall and in the Quebec legislature for 30 years. He was finally defeated in 1970, but is campaigning now for his eldest son, Colin, running as an independent in the historic provincial election of 1976.
Shake his hand. You know who he is, yeah? That's my son. He's the baby.
Big baby? Big baby.
Yeah. There's Holly. You shake the hand. There he is.
Here's the old flirty. Here's the old flirty.
color there.
That's it. That's the boy that's going to do it all.
Where the hell is that?
where's that summons you had from the wharf?
Yeah.
Billy,
my brother.
She's brother. But geez, you all look alike. How are you? Well, I'd like to buy you a beer, but during elections, against the law. And after the elections, you'll never see me again. He's the guy here. There's your man.
Coleraine all the way. Hey!
As the independent member for St. Anne's, Hanley denied any official connection with party politics, but he consistently voted with the now notorious government of Maurice Duplessis. When he did speak out against Duplessis, it was said that he did so with all the fury of a drugged chihuahua. But if he was less than a great parliamentarian, Frank Hanley was a born campaigner.
That's the chap from the cathedral every Sunday morning.
To get votes in Chinatown, he once dressed as a coolie and campaigned from a rickshaw with signs in Chinese saying, "Vote for Hanley and legalize Fantan." They called him the Chinese leprechaun.
Made by the nuns at the cathedral, and a special mass for him. Okay. Then I'll put $2 in and light a float. It only costs $1. I'll give you 2.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Sure enough. Bye now.
He was the traditional ward-heeling politician. He knew everybody, and everybody knew him. He handed out small jobs, business permits, welfare baskets, and he shook 1 million hands.
That's about yourself. Good. How's everybody in the bus, okay?
You remember me, eh?
Well, of course I do. How come right next door and you haven't got a picture in your best friend's window? The boys want the business. Your best friend doesn't want your picture in his window. And I gotta live with it.
When his opponent's committee rooms were mysteriously destroyed, Frank told the press, "They smashed their own rooms so people will think it's me."
I worked for Frank Hanley. They were tough. God, it's nothing to see one car bang into another car and everybody out of the cars and they're into it. It was terrible.
You have good fun?
Lots of fun. Right.
We never run a rough campaign. We always run a clean campaign. That's always been the orders of Mr. Hanley.
What happened last
Let the
night?
people vote.
Oh, they were rough. They were dangerous. They were dangerous. You needed money. You had to have cars, and you had to have goon squads, you had to have pluggers, you had to have all sorts of things to win a vote, to win an election.
Boxing coach Cliff Southey ran against Hanley.
They intimidated people and controlled things all over the place. They protected the pluggers and all the rest of it, you know. It was so the same as Tammany Hall in New York, you know. It was the same sort of thing. It was the goon squad that won.
We caught the opposition taking down our signs, or college signs, and putting up their signs. And one little guy followed them right in to their own committee room in Nuns Island. And there was a gang in there. And he said, if that ever happens again, I'll break all your heads. And not one of them stood up. Now, can you imagine 20 guys against one, and they want to represent St. Anne's in Quebec, and they won't stand up in their committee room, 20 against one? So you can't vote for the Liberal. They have no guts.
In his father's day, the committee rooms would be packed with supporters and campaign workers and people looking for a free beer. Now, Colin watches the results on television in his brother's apartment.
Get your money ready, Johnny.
It's Walter Budnick speaking from Mr. Hanley.
Walter Budnick is the Hanley campaign manager.
Yeah, but we're a candidate. I mean, we're not everybody. Collie didn't do too good in any one of those polls. Very bad.
Well, that's not our stronghold anyway. Like I say, we would have got 600 or 6,000. I guess going to get 600.
Holy cow, they need only one.
No, they already put it on the majority.
They got the majority? My God. Mais vous capable juste comment ça marche là? Qui en avant?
The Parti Québécois, the French-Canadian separatist movement, formed the new provincial government. For the first time since Canadian Confederation, Point St. Charles was represented in Quebec by a French-Canadian, and he a member of the Parti Québécois. Out of 21,000 votes cast in St. Anne's riding, Colin Hanley polled 849.
Tell Mom we get all Daddy's money together.
4 of hearts, ace of diamonds,
Well, we stick it on anyway.
9 of clubs, 7 of diamonds.
Whatever happened to the Irish? There are still the respectable working men on Ash Avenue and Liverpool Street and a lot of other streets. But the more ambitious have moved away from the point, moved uptown, or out into the manicured suburbs. The young people, the ambitious, the lucky continue to move away from Point St. Charles. They find better jobs. They can afford better places to live. As for the old, many of them are still here. For them, there isn't much to do but play a little church basement bingo, wait for afternoon tea, and listen to the occasional song from Mrs. Penman.